Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everybody's doing well out there. My name is Doug if you're new here. Got some digital dub reggae on the deck at the moment. Late 1980s dub from King Tubby's studio. Got some recent arrivals to share with you guys. First off, in my last finds video, I was talking about some vintage reggae I found in one of my local shops. Went back there were a few things I was kind of on the fence about that I later went home and thought, you know, I should have grabbed that. So of course I had to make another trip back down, pick up a couple more things. By that time a couple of them were gone, but the ones I did manage to grab are here. Another Lee Perry compilation, the prolific Lee Scratch Perry from his Black Ark years of the 1970s, seemingly inexhaustible treasure trove of roots reggae he created at his Black Ark studio in Jamaica. This is a compilation that came out on Attack in 1990. Attack was a subsidiary of Trojan Records in the UK, and this was actually compiled by the great Steve Barrow, who would soon go on to found Blood and Fire Records. Lots of great stuff on here from Lee Perry's studio, some rarities, Truth, Fact, and Correct with Babylon Dapon Fire, and the great Herb Vendor by Horsemouth, drummer Horsemouth Wallace, star of the film Rockers. This is one I'd never seen before. Had to grab it. Brew. This is by the DJ Brew Banton. This is from 1983 on the CSA label, also out of the UK. Brew Banton, not a super well-known DJ. He was like most others. He grew up performing on the sound systems in Jamaica, performed on Kilimanjaro, performed on Volcano Sound, both very well-known sounds. Volcano, in fact, was owned by Henry Junjo Laws, who was pretty much the top reggae producer of the early 1980s, and this debut album for him from 1983 is produced by Junjo Laws, with the High Times Band on backing instead of the more typical Roots Radix, as you might have found a year or two previous. CSA label, Brew Banton. Any reggae album cover where there's a motorcycle or they're leaning up against a car seems to be a guarantee of quality and should automatically be picked up. Just hardcore dance hall DJing here by Brew Banton. He would have to wait until the mid-1990s for his second LP, but kept up performing, recording singles in between, linked up with the Massive B label from Bobby Condors in the US for quite a length of time, which is how I first heard of him, through the Truth and Rights rhythm. They put out some singles in the early 2000s. I believe Brew Banton appeared on one of those. Relic of Johnny Osborne's Truth and Rights rhythm from Studio One. Here's another one I had overlooked the first time I was down there. Went back to pick it up. Another one from Trojan. Derek Harriott, Greatest Reggae Hits. Trojan label. This came out in 1975. Just a compilation of tunes from singer, producer, multiple threat Derek Harriott, who was in Jamaican music from very early days, before ska even. Singer, producer, had his own label, put out many records in basically any style you can name. Very soul influenced on this one, reggae soul, and very nice album. Had me digging in the shelves, reappraising, re-listening to what I have by him. So those were from one store. That was a store called High Life Records, by the way, down on Commercial Drive in Vancouver. Kind of a funky, multi-ethnic neighborhood. That's kind of a smaller record shop. I don't hit every time I go down there, but being the kind of neighborhood it is, it's worth keeping an eye on for the occasional reggae collection they get in. Shop, not the same shop, but one in the same area I found when I was down there. Your Jamaican Girl from Studio One. This is a various artists compilation that originally came out in the early 1970s in the UK on the Bamboo label. Various artists of Studio One Productions. You got great singers like Dennis Brown, Delroy Wilson, Larry Marshall, along with some instrumentals, the great Ernest Ranglin, the Sound Dimension, and many others. And this is just a reissue of it on the actual Studio One label. It's clearly a much later pressing from the print, from the label. So I was kind of a little bit, had a bit of trepidation buying this one. Wasn't that cheap, but I got it home. Turned out to play very well indeed. A couple of very minor like pops on the first side, but other than that, sounded very good, which is, whoop, naughty bits there. Other than that, that is a win for the Studio One column. Now, I bought a bunch of records from Mr. Bongo. They had their summer sale going on. I bought some things from them last year too. I don't know if I ever got as far as showing those, but they had their summer sale on again. LPs kind of $10, CDs $5. A lot of other things either I haven't heard of or not really that cheap, but I did go for a few things. Now, when I originally bought from them last year, their last sale, I bought a couple of things on CD that I kind of took a chance on. Then I listened to them and thought, that's great. I wish I'd bought it on vinyl. And so I did get a chance to pick a couple of those up on vinyl. One of them was Tunde Mabaro. This is West African sax. This is Viva Disco from 1980. Just a mix of funk, soul, disco, you name it. A bit of a James Brown influence on there, but just fantastic art for one thing there. Just great grooves, kind of lightly peppered with vocals. It's got a female singer on here on one of these. Sugar Daddy adding some spice to the chorus. Tunde Mabaro, just a great album. Another one I had picked up on CD originally was the Super Elcados, a very rare album from Nigeria, late 1970s. And these albums, thanks to Mr. Bongo for reissuing these rare albums that we would never get a chance to own originals of. Hundreds of dollars if you can find one, but you get nice high quality pressings from Mr. Bongo. Super Elcados, Togetherness is Always a Good Venture, Tambourine Party Volume 2. Again, kind of James Brown influence in there. Funk, soul, disco, just mix it up in the groove. Afrobeat, you name it. Bit of a reggae influence on one song here. How Much I Love You, kind of soulful. X-Ray Gun, kind of in that James Brown, hard-hitting soul, funk groove. Very nice stuff here. Super Elcados, and that is one I had also picked up on CD. And I did it again. I bought a couple of CDs. They're so cheap you can take a chance on them. You have to get them shipped from the US to Canada, which kind of adds to the expense, but what can you do? I prefer not to think about that. And this package actually got delayed. It was, went on the tracking there. It hadn't shown up for weeks and weeks. I went on the tracking and it was last reported in LA and sat there for a month with no updates. So I finally had to email Mr. Bongo, and they got on the case, and within a day or so it was updated to having crossed the border. Jackson Sisters is one I picked up on CD. Again, I'll probably end up picking this up on vinyl if I get a chance. In my ignorance, I'd sort of heard of this reissue. I'd always assumed it was the Jackson family. You know, they have LaToya, they have Janet. I thought it was not outside of the realms of possibility that they had a side project with the sister siblings, put out an album, but totally unrelated. These Jackson Sisters were from California, grew up singing in the church, and there's that very gospel feeling to this soul album that they put out. But very nice reissue from Mr. Bongo. Very 70s soul, but with a certain gospel feeling in the vocals. Covers of Why Do Fools Fall in Love, Aretha Franklin's Rock Steady. Just a very nice album, very enjoyable. Another one from the Mr. Bongo haul, Ronald Masquita, getting into some Brazilian stuff. This is why I like Mr. Bongo label. Lots of Brazilian reissues, lots of African reissues, stuff I'd like to learn more about. He was a master drummer, played in groups like Bossa Tres, And this is his own LP, recorded in France apparently, but 1972 originally released, Mr. Bongo reissue. And kind of has something of the Sergio Mendes Brazil 66 feeling, with a mix of male and female vocals kind of playing off each other, but more of a harder hitting sound, more percussion oriented, and a mix of kind of bossa nova, samba, MPB grooves, and 70s fashion game on point. Contrast that with the Jackson Sisters attack of the white 70s pantsuits. Great stuff. Enjoyed that one. Not Mr. Bongo, but from the Matsuli label. I picked this one up. Got this for cheap. African Songbird. This is originally came out in 1976. This is a reissue from 2016, second pressing. They had originally reissued this in 2013 from the Matsuli label, which focuses on South African jazz. She is a jazz singer, Bia Benjamin, who was the wife of Dollar Brand, also known as Abdullah Ibrahim. I believe that's his name. She had the opportunity to record the first South African jazz album in the late 1950s, recorded it. It was never released, it was shelved. In the mid 1960s, she went to Paris with her husband, Dollar Brand. They recorded with Duke Ellington. Again, an album that was never released. Duke Ellington actually asked her to join his band permanently, but she had to choose family over that opportunity. But finally got her chance to record her debut album in the 1970s. Only 3 songs on this album. Africa takes up the entire first side, which is an exile's return to the homeland, to the motherland. I've been gone much too long, and I'm glad to say I'm home to stay. Very spiritual vocals, but then with the bass and the percussion kicking in, kind of adds an undercurrent of tension to the music. Very lovely jazz album, South African jazz. Last one today, Power, kind of out of my usual wheelhouse, but I remember this being shown in the vinyl community. Came up for sale on the Mr. Bongo sale, so I thought I would grab it. Power of Zeus originally came out on Motown's Rare Earth subsidiary, late 1960s, early 1970s, I believe. Group was formed around 1968 by Joe Periano, who had been in the Marines, was working in Chrysler factory, I believe, in Detroit. They were a Detroit band, hard rock, hard 70s, kind of anticipating the 70s hard and heavy sound, but with some psychedelic influences in the music, like Iron Butterfly, but shorter, more concise songs. And the one track on here, The Sorcerer of Isis, has been heavily sampled in hip-hop by Kanye, KRS-One, many others, heavily sampled, but very obscure hard rock psychedelic album that was reissued for Record Store Day last year, 2019. Mr. Bongo reissue. Got this on the cheap. Very interesting stuff to check out, to get the opportunity to check out. So that is what I'm going to share with you today, guys. Got various other finds coming in. I'm going to try and keep these rolling, keep things moving, and try not to let things get too long. So hope you've enjoyed. I'm sure there'll be another video coming around the bend. Thanks everybody for watching, and cheers.